Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Thank you for joining us, and thanks for being here. It's November the 9th, 2024, and we are live here at the Minnesota Real Estate Show, Saturdays from 10 to 11 a.m. here on News Talk 830 WCCO. Show is hosted by Mike Overson of Luminate Home Loans, Scott Wollmering, and myself, Ryan O'Neill, with the Minnesota Real Estate Team and RE/MAX Advantage Plus. We welcome your questions, comments, thoughts on social media or 612-294-6949. I've got a lot to talk about today. Scott, good morning to you, buddy, and thanks for being here as always.
Yep, good to be here. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Like Ryan said, Minnesota Real Estate Show. We're going to talk everything real estate, mortgage related. How's the year going to wrap up? I mean, we're almost middle of November here, so we got a couple months left. So how's the year going to wrap up? What do we think 2025 is going to look like? Ryan talked about last weekend that 2023 and 2024 were our worst 2 years ever.
Yep.
For units sold, and so we'll get into what we think 25 is going to be like.
Yep. And Steve Groen, Standard Water, here with us too. We're going live on air right now on News Talk 830. Good to see you, bud.
Yay!
Good to see you. Here we go. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Appreciate you joining us, and thanks for tuning in to News Talk 830 WCCO. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show from 10 to 11 every Saturday morning. It is a live, local real estate show hosted by Mike Overson of Luminate Home Loans, Scott Wollmering, and myself, Ryan O'Neill, with the Minnesota Real Estate Team, RE/MAX Advantage Plus. It's an interactive show as well. You can call us or text us right in studio, 612-294-6949, 612-294-6949 is how you can join us. A lot to talk about today. And Scott, good morning to you, buddy.
Yeah, good to be here. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Like Ryan said, this Minnesota Real Estate Show. Love your phone calls or text during the show. If you have any questions or you want us to hit anything, 612-294-6949. We had an election on Tuesday. We should probably talk about that. A lot of people are happy. A lot of people are not. But the sun did come out. People are still buying real estate. I'm actually showing homes tomorrow. So life will move on. I think that's the whatever side of the aisle you are on. I think that's the best to take out of it is life will still go on.
Yep, life continues on. The real estate world continues on, and the Minnesota Real Estate Show continues on.
Yeah, they're probably like, really? How many more years are you guys going to do that? 20 some years. It's every Saturday we have to listen.
20 years of commentary and thoughts on the market here. Again, we're a local real estate team. We work with Minnesotans really all over, north, south, east, west, western Wisconsin. We are a very diverse group of agents. But again, if you're looking to buy, sell, invest in real estate, we are here to help you in any way we can, and we appreciate you tuning into the show. The first segment, Scott, we do like to do that update from a real estate update from a market activity standpoint. These are some numbers here in the Twin Cities. New listings or new homes for sale are up 10% year over year. There were 1,112 new listings that came on the market. Pending sales or accepted purchase agreements up 20%. Wow. 20% more accepted purchase agreements, 840. And then the overall inventory of homes for sale is still up about 10%. So we have 10% more homes for sale right now in the Twin Cities metro area than last year at this time. Scott, though we're into November, we're seeing market activity increase, some listings sit a little bit longer. However, this is normal.
Well, it's normal, and I was just thinking about, as you're talking about, who can benefit right now, and here's who can benefit. If you are out there and you are in the under 400,000 price range, depending on the outer ring suburb you're in, and you have lost out in multiple offers. It used to be 20 offers, now you're losing out to 2 or 3 offers. Well, with rates going up like they did, we believe they're going to fall. Mike will get into that by December, January. So right now is a perfect time for all of those who have not been able to compete to be able to buy a house. Things have slowed a little bit because rates went up. People are pushing the brakes a little bit. Everybody's still kind of enthralled about the election, not as much activity out there. And so again, you're like, well, why would I do this? 7%. Yeah, you buy now and then, push the closing out till the end of December or the first week, couple weeks in January. Watch the rates come down, lock at that point, and wowza, you got a house.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me that pending sales are up 20% from this time this year versus last year. Do you guys remember where rates were at last year at this time?
8.25.
They were at 8.25,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we're in the high sixes now.
Yeah.
So our rates did drift down this week. The last 3 days of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, were all good days for mortgage rates, and we drifted just under 7%. And a lot of the clients, to be honest with you, that's the average rate. A lot of my clients are sitting at 6.5, 6.625. I got a VA going at 6.125. So rates came down a little bit. I think this slide that we had for the last 3 days will continue as we go through December. I still think by the time we get to the end of December, I still think we're in the fives.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's like, you would think, well, why would I buy right now? Well, that is the reason. And everybody out there that's listening that is in this category, you know who you are. You either the agent or the buyer. You have been there. You've written 7 or 8 of them. You haven't got it. It got real aggressive when rates dropped down to 6.25 again. You're like, oh my God, now there's 10 offers on a house. Well, guess what? Middle of November, rates at high sixes. That's not happening right now. Go buy a house.
Hey, one comment I wanted to make, if you are, again, looking to buy a home right now, working with a lender, one of the reasons we love working with Mike Overson and his team is, I'll kind of use the adage, he's willing to rip the Band-Aid off if there's bad news.
Yeah.
Oftentimes on transactions, what can happen is there's a variety of situations that can come up, whether it's the borrower not being able to qualify, whether there's insurance issues, there's HOA issues, and the seller, the agents, and really everybody wants to know that as soon as possible, Mike. And that's one thing you guys do a good job of, is you're willing to rip the Band-Aid off and let people know early in the process so they can react accordingly.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you don't want to alarm people if alarm doesn't need to be had, right? So there's kind of a craft and a skill set there to be like, okay, is this something that I need to sound the alarms on, or is this something that is going to work out where I don't have to get people worked up on the backside? So if there's an issue there, it's better to just get it out in the open, because you got a team around you, right?
That's
Everyone wants to get that
wants the same
done.
thing.
Right. The real estate agents will help you out. The associations, if it's a condo or townhouse, they'll help you out. Everyone wants to get to the closing table. So if you get it out in the open, people will help.
612-294-6949 is how you can join us at the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We are live here every Saturday morning. Welcome your questions, comments, thoughts. We'll be back after the break. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We got a full house today, as you can tell. Mike Overson, Illuminate Home Loans. Steve Grown. Steve, good morning, buddy.
Good morning to you too.
Nice to see you, young man.
Am I younger than you? I don't think so.
Steve's a young man. Steve Grown, Standard Water. Great company, great people. I personally, we had to use them this year. Water issues in the basement. Team did an awesome job. You got a great group. You just got a wonderful group, Steve.
They're good employees. My top 10 employees been around over 22 years. I've got one gentleman who's worked for us for 46 years.
Wow.
Oh my
Started in
gosh.
junior high.
46 years.
46
Yeah.
years.
He fixes the trucks. He handles the most difficult situations. He works literally 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every single day, Monday through Friday. And he's done that for years. Never calls in sick.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
46 years. I mean,
That could be a record.
that's like 4 marriages for me. 46 years. You do the math. That's a long. That's a long. Well, you carry the one. Yeah, that's a long. That's a long time.
We appreciate so many folks joining us as well. Good morning to everybody, commentary wise as well. But Mike, rates actually ticked up a little bit this week, huh?
They were up last week, and then for the first 2 days this week, they ticked up Wednesday was the slide of them starting to come back down. So early in the week, let's say Monday, 7.125. Friday, we ended at 6.875.
Yeah.
Right. So they slid down a quarter from the week. A lot of people are going to say, oh, it was the election and it was the Fed meeting that did it. It actually wasn't either one of those two that did it, to be honest with you. But it's nice that those things are over because those things are potential big market movers.
Sure.
And they didn't
really move it.
didn't really rile things up, which is actually good, is what we wanted, right? So now I think we're past that. I think now it's just a steady kind of slow drop as we go through the rest of November, as we go through December. Hopefully by the end of December, we're at 599, you know, and things are rolling.
And why do we think they'll drop?
I just,
We just do, right? Well, see, the thing is, we're
just trying to understand
We're
that.
cup half full people, Mike and I.
yeah.
We're not like you, looking at the negative all the time, and oh my gosh.
You got the
I
first, you got the first Fed drop in September that dropped 0.5%, right? That takes a while to get through the economic system, 2-3 months before it starts affecting mortgage rates, right? So middle September was that meeting. 3 months after that is middle of December, right? Now it's all taken effect. Rates are starting to come down. We had the last Fed meeting just this week that dropped it another quarter. So now as we get into January, February, that takes effect and that starts bringing things down. It's just, I think things will mellow out here and we're just it's gonna be nice. So.
Yeah, again, appreciate you joining us, 612-294-6949. We're live here until 11 o'clock. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, anything about the market, about interest rates, Steve Grown, Standard Water here with us, also doing radon. Steve, you guys are doing a lot of radon.
We are. I've got several crews. In fact, Scott just called us, give us a nice referral.
Yep.
You know, newer homes that were built after, I think it's I should know this, after 2010 have passive systems already installed. So all you have to do is go in and attach a fan. They're good to go. So
That was
the case of your friend.
You guys did that on our house?
Yeah,
Same
thank you very
thing.
much.
Yeah.
God, you guys all do business with me. I love you, man. I love you guys.
I just like to leave the radon in my house.
Oh,
I'm just one of those guys where I enjoy radon being there.
Yeah, he likes life on the edge.
Oh yeah, I want to live on the edge.
Yeah.
Again, we're getting ready to go back live on air on News Talk 830 WCCL. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Hope your weekend's going well. November 9th. Here we go. Welcome back to the second act of the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Hope your weekend's going well. Here, have a featured listing want to hit. Mike Varner, a great agent on the Minnesota Real Estate team and RE/MAX Advantage Plus, has one in the West Metro in Waconia, 1254 Crosswinds Way for $500,000. It's a 3-bed, 2.5-bath, 3-car garage property. Large corner lot, has a big deck. They are original owners. It was built in 2016. It's got great hardwood floors, a spa-like primary bath with a soaking tub, open floor plan, perfect for entertaining. Be sure to check that one out, 1254 Crosswinds Way in Waconia for $500,000. Again, Scott, that's a nice area out there, the Waconia location.
Yeah, I actually looked at that property with Mike. It's a great house, super neighborhood. It's one that you definitely want to check out.
Yeah, again, election has come and gone. As Scott said, half of the world, or a little less than half of the world, or the U.S. is unhappy, and a little more than half of the U.S. is happy. But everybody woke up tired the next day.
Yes.
Most likely,
Yes.
Whatever side of the fence you're on, you needed your cup of Java that morning.
You did. We were Ryan and another friend of ours was on a group text, and I was up till 3. Those guys kind of peeled off at 11 or 12. But yeah, I find all that fascinating. Just what's going to happen, and then how people are reacting to it.
Yeah, I want to welcome on our friend Steve Grown, Standard Water. Wonderful guy. We were just saying during the social media stream, all of us are clients of your company there, young man.
I really appreciate your business. I love you guys. It's so at Standard Wire, we do waterproofing, foundation repair, egress windows, radon mitigation. I also own another company, A.G. Alberts Plumbing, and we do service work. And one of the things about the election, I've seen this happen now for going back to, well, I guess 04 when I got into this stuff. The month or two leading up to the election, the leads, the customers calling in start to reduce.
Yeah.
And it's painful. And it's the same every 4 years. So for me-
Reduce in the
like-
size of the project? You mean?
No, just the phone calls coming in. The demand.
The people
goes-
they're
the
preoccupied.
Demand goes down. Everyone's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Someone's going to get elected. It's the same every 4 years. This year was no different. You know, the week leading up to it is just slower than molasses. And then after election, you wait a couple days, and it's like all hell breaks loose, and everyone's calling. Like it's like I don't know what they're all waiting for.
Well,
but-
they're waiting for the election so they can decide whether they're moving out of the country or not. So now they got to get the radon taken out. They got to get the water fixed before they move.
Yeah, there is a lot of different, I think the uncertainty, some agents will reach out, on the team, they'll reach out and say, hey, Ryan, I'm really, I'm frustrated. My seller's been on for 2 or 3 weeks. We're not getting the normal traffic. We're not getting the number of showings. Part of it is obviously, look, it's not rocket science. Fall, winter is slower in Minnesota. And we had a presidential election. And Steve, your point's a good one. A lot of people do hold off on a variety of things because of the uncertainty about it and trying to determine what's the next step.
I think as humans, we just live our lives in fear too many times. And you look at buying or selling a house, they're afraid they're not going to make as much, or afraid they paid too much, or afraid they picked the wrong city. There's just fear, or they second guess decisions, buyer's remorse, and it's just kind of how we're put together. We just have to manage it. We can't change it. We can change it individually. That's about as good as it gets.
What's new with Standard Water? Tell people a little bit about who you are, what you're doing, how you're helping customers.
Sure. So the guts of our business is waterproofing. So we install interior drain tile and sump pumps, and we install literally thousands of sump pumps each year. We install more sump pumps than anyone else in the state, and we have for decades. We also do, related to that work though, is foundation repair. So if you go in your basement, look at your basement wall, if you can see it, sometimes you find a crack. Might be a vertical crack, might be horizontal, might be stair step. And for some homes, you might see an inch in there, right? And what do you do with that? So one of the things that we do, this is a little bit newer, but we've been doing flavors of this, is we can now fix foundations, whatever they are. So we do something called piering, which means we can stabilize the foundation. We can rate, just like you jack up a car, that's what we do to a home. We get literally underneath the wall of the basement, underneath the footer, and we'll jack it up. Now we have engineers who tell us the spacing of the devices. We put the piering and all that, but then and we have epoxy, and we've got different straps and stitches to fix walls. So no matter what your wall looks like, we can fix it. In fact, in St. Paul here, this last week, we did a job. Customer had no footers in the house, like literally no footers. So we dug down, all engineered and everything. We drilled basically like a big screw, and then we poured something on top of that, a mini little footer that goes underneath the foundation of the house. And on the other side, on the inside of the house, with timbers, like green treated timbers, we connect to the lumber and the carpentry on the inside of the house to stabilize the whole thing. So it's almost like heart surgery sometimes. There's just a variety of different things you can do, and just got to get engineered, and we can take care of it. So no matter what is happening with the foundation, we can help customers waterproofing or foundation repair.
Well, and it's interesting. I'm sure people are out there listening. Man, if there was a house that had foundation repair or that had piers in it, I would really shy away from that. That would make me nervous. If you bought a new construction-ish house in Linden Hills, which is a very, very popular place in Minneapolis, and what I mean by new construction is probably in the next 10 years or last 10 years, if it's been torn down and rebuilt as a new home, that home 90% of the time is sitting on piers, because all of Linden Hills is basically a swampland back in the 1800s. And what piers do is you drill down until you get to bedrock and you set the house on it. Now you're talking about a smaller system, but literally all those houses are built on piers because there's nothing to hold the house up if you don't.
Yeah, you don't have to be afraid of that at all. They're very stable.
Yeah.
And if you just imagine, and you might go down less than 12 feet, but it could be 20, 30, 40, 50 feet. You just keep attaching these. They're almost like big screws. And then you just screw it into the ground. At some point, it doesn't go in any further. And then you attach the foundation of the house to that, and it doesn't move. It's amazing.
Yeah, two things. You think about it as homeowners in Minnesota. two critical issues: water in the basement. We've had water in the basement multiple times, and radon. Steve, your business really helps people with critical things. I mean, these are things that affect everybody, whether you're looking to buy a house, whether you're selling a house. Scott, you think of the number of the transactions over the years on the seller's disclosure where there's water issues, and you want to have it done right. That's the key. I think when you're selling your home, it's not a deal killer if you've had water in your basement. The key is what did you do and what's happening now? And that's why having a really good partner, a trusted company, is critical, Steve.
Yeah, if you're buying a home and you go in the basement, y'all have been in the basements, and there's that icky smell. They're just gross. There's mold everywhere. There's cracks in the basement wall. There's water on the floor. We just fix all that stuff and can literally make it as good or better than any new home. There's things you do. You have to waterproof it. You have to seal it. You have to stabilize the foundation. Then you have to put vapor barriers on, and the radon system will actually dehumidify the basement in a monstrous way. Then you can add dehumidifiers. You put vapor barriers on the wall, and you finish the basement. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's work. But that's what we do.
That's right.
Yeah, really good stuff. Really good company. Mike, I'm thinking of a nice new home like you have. You guys have had no water in the basement.
No water in the basement, but ours is a newer home built in 2016, had the passive radon system in there. Sure enough, I had never got it tested. So I'm just like, I'm just gonna get one of those at-home kits, and test it. We were at 12.
Yeah, and under 4 is acceptable.
Right. Yeah. So then I had Steve's company come out, and the passive system was already there. So you guys hooked up the fan and stuff like that, retested it. It's down to like 1.9 now, and everything's great.
Yeah, and like Steve said, if you built a house, I think you're right, it's after 2010 or something like that. Yeah, it'll have a passive system in there if you built it, and then you can just add a fan to it and get rid of it. And basically all that means is that you've got the piping. It's just that the radon is not being sucked out through the top of the deal.
Yeah, before the halfway point, we're going to continue the discussion with our friend Steve Groen, Standard Water. I have one other listing, Tracy Knudsen, a great agent on the Minnesota real estate team, Remax Advantage Plus. Scott, she has this one in Hastings, 1120 Ashland Street. It is a beautiful, large corner lot, she said, and it's a great neighborhood. It's minutes from shopping, dining, and parks. 5-bed, 2-bath, 2 updated baths, newer mechanicals, fenced yard. It has a stamped concrete patio. Tracy mentioned that the seller is open to a quick closing if possible. Looking at the pictures here online, really nice, nice looking property. 1120 Ashland Street in Hastings with Tracy Knudsen. Be sure to check that one out online as well and set up a showing. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We're at the halfway point. Welcome your questions, comments, texts, 612-294-6949. We'll be back after the break. Thanks for joining us. It's funny. I had a comment from a friend. I'll share this with. It says, "You're so politically correct about everyone's reaction to the election results." That was a text I got from a friend. It's politically correct, right? We don't want to. People are super passionate. I'll tell you.
I mean, they're shutting grade schools down. So that kids can go home for a what they call it, a something day. So they're not so sad. Or
well,
not so
Harvard closed for a day. Even we did a little team happy hour. You can imagine with a big team and a group of people, there's a lot of people very passionate on all sides. And there were some people that, were visibly upset. So we just tried to keep it on, hey, let's talk about the Vikings or something. I don't know, try to keep it off topic.
Well, when I left, you talked about the Vikings. When
Yeah.
I was there, we talked about the election.
Yeah.
Do we really need to take a day off of school for
No.
it, though? Do we really
I mean-
need to shut
I
something
mean,
down
that's-
for it?
Maybe there's just a little bit too military kid in me, but
Yeah.
I'm like, there's tough things your entire life,
Yeah.
kids. The election that you probably don't understand that much as a grade schooler, probably don't need a day off of school.
Yeah.
I think one thing that's interesting, it seems like the voting ahead of the actual day, the pre-election.
Oh, yeah.
The mail-in or like, that's a huge trend. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I did too. I think this time around, where both sides were comfortable, is there was enough policing of that ahead of time so that nobody thought there was any shenanigans, and if there was shenanigans, it was handled before it got to the day.
Yeah.
And so I think it was a lot smoother. And I think for both sides, whatever side you're on, the fact that it wrapped up that night was so good. I mean, to have it go on for 2-3
We
weeks,
actually count it.
yeah, to actually count it and be able to say, okay, it went this direction. Maybe you don't like the direction it went, but at least it's done.
One quick, just,
I voted at St. Stephen's Lutheran Church, went in there, there was like no one there.
Yeah.
Like it just like walk up, it was like a 4-minute deal.
it is interesting when you look at different states, like Florida, I don't know the total number of voters, but it's a huge number.
Huge state.
They had their total by like 9 o'clock that
That's
night.
crazy.
So it is interesting to me. And then you'd see like Arizona, I think they're still counting votes in Arizona. So you just, that's the joys of running a state, is you gotta, who's ever in charge and their systems and processes, but that's interesting to me. I mean, how many days are we put after now? We're 5 days after and they're still counting votes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I was up like Nevada polls closed at like 9 or something.
Yeah.
But if you're in line, they got to let you vote. And they were
Yeah.
saying that one of their locations, it was a 3-hour line wait at 9 p.m.
Those
Yeah.
are the same people that come to an open house that closes at 2 o'clock at 2 o'clock. They should not be able to vote. Or it's the same person. I used to work at Godfather's Pizza, and we closed at 9 o'clock. And it was when I was in high school. And we would have people come in at 2 minutes to 9. So you have to literally
Sit down.
redo the dough that you've already thrown away. I mean, because you still have to serve them.
Yeah.
And when I was in high school, they didn't get the best pizzas. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, Jennifer, we're gonna hit your question live on CCO too. We're gonna come back with that because I think the CCO listeners will want to hear that too about Steve. Had a question specific about what Steve was talking about. But yeah, I think again, the projections for 2025 closed transactions are, I think this year is going to be about 4 million in the US. And again, historically, that's the worst in 30 years in closed residential transactions in the United States. Next year, they're projecting 4.9 million. So almost 5 million. So what is that? A 20% increase. That would be significant.
That would be.
That would be very significant. So here we go. We're going back live on air. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We appreciate you joining us. Had kind of a funny text come in and said, Ryan, you're so politically correct when people talk about the election. And the short answer is, Scott, I've got a lot of good friends on both sides of the aisle, and all you do is you just upset.
It is, and this is totally off topic, but it is interesting to me. So I'm on dating apps. I'm single. I'm 55 years old. Not actively on the apps, but I look at them eventually, or every once in a while. And I would say that at least 50% of the women will say in their thing, if you voted for Trump or if you are conservative, swipe left, which means I'm not interested in you and don't be interested in me. And I just find that so, because I'm the same with Ryan. My mom is very progressive, very liberal. A lot of my friends are liberal. And to me, that is not a thing. I'm like, I could definitely date somebody that believed opposite of me from a political standpoint. And I think that is one of the biggest changes in our country. We've replaced religion with politics. It used to be like, oh, I would never date somebody outside of my religion. And now it's, I would never date somebody out of my that is nuts to me.
Would you date someone outside your religion?
Yes. Yeah, I would.
Hey, Steve, we had a question come in.
Get off the
Hey, Steve. Hey, I'm going to make up a question that did not come in.
Would you date a Packers fan?
Well, now that's
Hell no.
now we
Hell
got to end.
We did have a question. Jennifer says, good morning. Could Steve share what a rough estimate for a foundation correction, such as what he mentioned? Steve, you got any deep thoughts on costs?
Yeah, some Jack Handy deep thoughts. Here we go. So yeah, it's hard. We'd have to take a look at because there's a variety of solutions. But let's say there's 20 feet of wall basement wall that needs to be repaired. And we will say it is a horizontal crack going right down the middle. Okay, for something like that, we can do something called straps. They're installed every 4 feet. A 20-foot section of wall will require 6 of them. It's $1,000 a piece, $6,000. We do the epoxy and install them on the inside of the home. It's something larger where we need to stabilize it and do piering. Piers are typically more 5 feet apart. I'm oversimplifying this. So then you only need 5 of them, but they cost a heck of a lot more. They're more like $2,000 a pop. Plus you have an engineer in there and that's another $2,000. So that's 12. So somewhere between 6 and 12. And then I suppose you could look at that at a linear foot basis and get a range of some sort. But the best thing is just get a quote. You know, it's no charge to come out. We'll take a look at it. Sometimes it's a simpler thing. Sometimes it's more complex, but 95% of the time we come up with a solution that's not really that invasive. So,
One thought and comment that had come in earlier, the guys were talking about interest rates going down. And I asked, I said, what's the reason for that, Mike? Give us more thoughts on that. Why do you think they're going to come down? Just a feeling you have?
Yeah, I just look at everything and I'm kind of reading the writing on the wall with the Fed starting to cut rates. And again, whenever the Feds cut rates, there's no immediate reaction on the mortgage side of things as far as mortgage rates falling as well. It takes a while for when the Feds lower rates, they're lowering short-term rates, home equity lines of credit, auto loans, like more personal, loan type of stuff. It takes a while for those lower rates to take effect into the economic system, and then our mortgage rates will eventually then follow, right? So September, we had the Fed cut their rates by 0.5%. 3 months after that's going to be mid-December, right? It should start taking effect by then. They just lowered it this week by another 0.25%. So now in February, that's going to start taking effect. So I just think the activity here in the fall and the things that have happened and being past the election now, I think all that stuff, we're just going to kind of calm down. We're just going to see kind of a nice, slow little drift downwards.
can I ask Mike a question?
Yeah, what do you got, Steve?
Yeah, so I'm buying trucks right now, big F-650 diesels, shopping, interest rates. You do any side work with banks, or you have any advice on getting loans outside of mortgage?
So I don't do any auto loans. I don't do any personal loans or anything like that. Doesn't matter what type of loan you're getting. Obviously, credit is a big thing. So the higher the credit score, the lower the interest rate you're going to get. I know on the auto loan side of things too. Obviously, the term, right? Are you going to do a 3-year loan, a 4-year loan, 7-year loan? That's going to affect your interest rate too. But just in general, borrowing in general, credit is probably the number one factor. So if you can get your credit score as high as possible, you're going to get the best rate out there.
How does credit score affect the rates you come up with?
So that's a great question. If you look at FHA and VA loans, if you give me a 670 credit score versus a 740 credit score, they're going to be really close to the same interest rate, to be honest with you. On the conventional loan side of things, you give me a 670 credit score versus a 740, they're going to be vastly different.
Yeah.
And the mortgage insurance works differently too. So that, to be honest with you, is a bigger difference. On an FHA loan, doesn't matter what your credit score is, everyone pays the same rate of mortgage insurance. On the conventional side of things, a 670 score versus a 740 score, that PMI is going to be double, if not triple, for that 670 borrower versus the 740 borrower.
How about money down, 10% versus 20 versus 30? How's that affected?
Doesn't affect your rate much, to be honest with you. You put 25, 30, 35% down, you're going to save an eighth to a quarter maybe on the rate versus someone putting 5% down.
Huh.
So down payment amount doesn't affect your interest rate a whole lot.
It's the mortgage insurance.
Again, it goes back to the PMI. The more you have down, the lower and lower that PMI will go, and that's the bigger mover there.
So pay off the credit cards.
At least make the payments on time and try to keep your credit card balances low, right? Always make your payments on time. That's number one factor in your credit score. The number two factor is try to keep your credit card balances at 10 to 20% of the actual limit or less. Okay. Don't ever carry a 50% balance, a 60% balance. Don't ever max them out. Keep that balance around 10 to 20% in there, and you'll be just fine on credit.
Yeah, 612-294-6949 is how you can join us here anytime during the Minnesota Real Estate Show, live during the show or throughout the week. We help people buy homes, sell homes, invest in real estate. Be sure to check out mnrealestateshow.com if you would like a market analysis done on your home. Curious about today's values, appreciation. We have seen appreciation slowly tick up. But again, Scott, we're seeing some stuff sit on the market a little bit longer. And just real quick, if you are in a homeowners association, you own a condo, townhome, what we are starting to see is, Mike, we working with an agent on the team where there's an insurance issue going on. And essentially, people in the development right now are not able to sell their property. Maybe explain the situation, because our agent has reached out to the property management company. They've been very rude about not trying to help our agent. They're trying to get a hold of board members. Maybe talk about that.
Sure. Yeah. And this is mainly on condos. Townhomes, you don't see this near as often. It's really on condos is where the issue is at.
But define condos, because people think of condos like apartment unit style looking. You can have a townhome looking property that is a condo.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing, right? You might think that you are living in a townhouse or you own a townhouse, but it's legally a condo. And we won't get into how that's different, stuff like that. But just know that's the first step. Is it a true townhouse, or is it legally a condo? So once you get into the condo side of things, what has happened over the last, let's say 15, 16 months is that insurance rates have gone up. So a lot of associations have chosen to raise their deductibles or lower the amount of insurance coverage that they have for all the buildings in the development, so that they can keep their insurance costs down, which keeps HOA dues down. Well, on the backside of it, on the conventional loan side of things, they have increased their requirements for what insurance needs to be on these associations, right? So they've split, where one's trying to save money and has lowered it. The other side, the requirements have been raised. So now you get a lot of these associations that don't meet the insurance requirements on these conventional loans. And if you can't get a conventional loan to go through, a lot of buyers can't buy it because they don't have the cash, right, to go buy the property. So now how do you skin that cat? I got a buyer that wants to buy it. I got a seller who wants to sell. And the insurance is what's keeping them apart right now.
Yeah, it's a thing. I mean, it's a thing. It's a thing to the point where if you pay attention, if you're showing townhomes, some agents that are good agents will actually reference it. Just be aware when you're talking to your lender, the H6 policies, blah, 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 blah. Because it's a thing, and it is literally stopping closings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is indeed. We're at the 3/4 point of the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Before the break, one other listing to hit. Fong Kao, great agent on the Minnesota Real Estate team, has one at 1813 Country View Boulevard, listed for $160,000. Fong says it's an estate sale. There's a beautiful park in the back of the home. It's got good bones, newer mechanicals in 2023, 3-bed, 2-bath. And he says it's a fixer-upper and a rehabber type of property. $160,000 for this property, 1813 Country View Boulevard. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, that insurance deal. What a whammy.
Yeah,
I mean, now we've got there's an active purchase agreement. Buyer and seller want to sell. And our seller is trying to get a hold of the HOA, the property management company, and the board. And they're totally like ghosting them. So you think about that. You live in this, you pay these dues to a development, and the board is there to support you all as owners. It's just super frustrating.
So there's usually a management company there. So we usually have to, as lenders, we have to go through the management company to get the information we need, the condo questionnaire, the master insurance policy information, the covenants, all the stuff, right? And so these property management companies are most of the time pretty good at getting us all the information, but there's sometimes where they're just like, we don't have it. And then as a lender, we got to go back like, but we need it. And I'm like, well, we can't supply it, so just do whatever, right?
Yeah.
So then we have to go try to get in touch with the association directly. Well, sometimes depending on the association, they might have someone there that doesn't know how to get us the information or doesn't respond, or maybe they check their emails once every 2 weeks, so then you run into that where you're trying to get this info and no one's replying, and it can get frustrating.
That just reminds me on townhomes. One thing that's gotten really out of whack. So whenever you sell a townhome in the state of Minnesota, there is a state statute so that the buyer of your townhome has 10 days, can be reduced down to 3, to read all of the information, financials, bylaws, make sure that everything that they want is in there. And if for any reason during that time they can back away. And the cost to the seller, okay, everything is online for crying out loud.
Sure.
I mean, the cost of the seller now, it used to be, $150 to get the packet, to give it to the new. I mean, they're ranging $400 to $700. And, it's not, and it's all online. It is crazy.
So that's like the same information we have to get. And it's the same thing too. It's anywhere between, $250 probably on the low
On
end.
the low end.
And I've literally have had people pay $750
Yes, I've
to
had
get
one
the
at $700.
information. And if you want to rush it, it's like, hey, it's going to be $600, but if you want to rush it, it's going to be $750. And that's like, well, we got a timeline to get here. So it's like they pay the $750. And
Well,
it's just
and
like,
Nancy or Ryan are not in the back room printing this stuff out and binding it. I mean, it's literally click, 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 email.
attach it to an email.
Yes, and it's gone. And it's like, well, if you want it today, well, what do you mean? You're going to click, click, click and send it. So why is it $500 to $750?
Right.
Sneaky, very sneaky.
Well, it's highway robbery.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It is.
Yeah, it is terrible.
So the other thing too, going along with that, is there's a big thing on the lending side of things as far as how much credit reports cost now. And the amount the cost of credit reports over the last 3 years has gone from $25 a report to $90.
Wow.
I mean, it's crazy how much it's gone up. And there's a big stink right now. And the credit reporting agencies like FICO and stuff like that, they're under scrutiny from the federal government right now of where they're going to look into it and they're going to be like, why is all this price gouging happening?
Yeah.
Here we go. Final segment of the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Welcome back to the final segment of the Minnesota Real Estate Show, and one last listing to touch on. This one is in St. Paul, 2019 Ramlow Place for $700,000, listed by Rob Andert on the Minnesota Real Estate Team and Remax Advantage Plus. This is right in Highland, a prime location in Highland, 1.5 blocks from the river, the trails and the parks, close to shopping, restaurants, and again, very conveniently located off 494. 5 minutes to the airport, actually. A 3.5-year-old property. There was a $315,000 renovation down to the studs on this 1950 built 1.5 story. It's got a ton of custom features and amenities, more than brand new construction in the area. It's got a Spanish silestone quartz and contrasting black stainless steel appliances in the open kitchen, large format, first ceiling tile in all the bathrooms, lots of amenities. Again, you got a hot tub in the back, grill and seating, gorgeous front porch for a morning coffee, a garage converted to a full gym with a dedicated gas line. And then the last couple ones, security and technology, Scott. Homes connected with a high-speed dedicated fiber optic line and cameras hardwired into the property. And it's only available due to relocation. The owner's relocating. Everything stays with the property. $5,000 Italian dining room table, 3 75-inch TVs, wires hidden with sound bars and subs. Beautiful place. 2019 Ramlow Place in St. Paul for $700,000. Be sure to check that one out.
I've got one, and this is why people do not want me reading their listings. They want Ryan. This is a 19726 Meadowlark Way. It's a Rambler townhome, 3-bedroom, 3-bath in Farmington. It is as nice as it gets in that price range of $350,000. 19726 Meadowlark Way in Farmington, Rambler townhome, finished basement, $350,000.
Steve, in the last segment here, before we wrap up the show, best kind of last thoughts for people and the best way for people to reach out to Standard Water and you, Steve Groen.
Sure. Best way is find me on LinkedIn, Steve Groen. Reach out that way. Otherwise, standardwire.com. My office personnel respond to email, text, and phone calls. Just they're on the spot. And then my advice to listeners is over the winter here is the best time to spend money with contractors. They are, as a group, the slowest. You're going to beat, so you not only get more discounts now, but you beat the price increases that always start March or April. We're booking jobs into February right now. So if you need any of the work that we do, this would be the time to call. If you want to wait till March, April, that's when everyone calls. that's when you're gonna pay the absolute most. So if you wanna save money, call today.
Just like the housing market.
Yeah, just like the housing market is right. Steve, with contractors, so when you call, let's just say, for example, you're calling March and April, how much of a premium is standard that you're paying when you say you pay more? Are you paying more just in general, or is it timeline?
I'll use really round numbers here. But we have to keep our guys busy in the winter. You can't lose employees. You just can't. And we haven't, and we don't. We've never had a layoff, right? But in the back of your mind, you got this fear factor we talked about earlier. Got to make sure the schedule is full. So from a discount standpoint, we discount the work 5 to 10% for like February, March. And then come March, April, it's going to be a 5 to 10% increase. So the spread there is potentially 10 to 20.
I was gonna say 10 to 20%. Yeah, that's a big discount.
And for most people, that's post-tax money, right? So if it costs 10 grand, you got to come up with 15 grand to pay the 10. So I mean, it's all just get her done. Don't procrastinate.
Yeah, great job, Steve Grown, Standard Water. Be sure to check out all of his online reviews as well. They've got a ton of 5-star Google reviews. Very good folks. We've worked with him personally this year with some water issues we had in our basement. They did an awesome job. Can't recommend them highly enough. Thank you, Steve, to you and your team. Mike Overson, your last thoughts for folks as we head to the home stretch?
Well, just like Steve said, now's the time to get a deal on your basement stuff. The next 3 months is your time to get a deal in real estate too.
Right.
You know, in Minnesota, historically, it doesn't matter what year you look at. You know, you got November, December, January, February. That chunk of months right there is your best time to get a deal. So go out there, start looking for a house. You're going to get FHA offers accepted now. You're going to get down payment assistance offers accepted now. Those types of offers typically don't get accepted when we get into the spring type of market because there's just too much buyer competition. So buy a house now, take advantage of the price of the house now. You can refinance down the road when rates come down, and you'll get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to piggyback on that. Like I said earlier, if you're in a situation where you are in an outer ring suburb and you are buying, under $400,000, and you've tried to do it all summer, and you've had little waves of where there were 2 to 3 offers, and then it went to, well, now there's 10 to 15 offers, and now we're back down to 2 to 3. The next 3 months, there could be no offers. You could be it, and you can actually buy a house. I mean, I don't know how to push it enough. If you are thinking, my gosh, I'm going to wait till next spring when there's more homes on the market to buy a house, and you are anything other than a cash or 20% down, are willing to waive your inspection, are willing to guarantee the appraisal price. If you are not that person, the next 3 months is your time to buy a house, or you're going to do the same thing all next summer.
Yeah, it really is. And from a competition standpoint, how much more you can negotiate, better deals you can get. Again, obviously moving, no one is crazy about moving in winter. We've got 2 really good partners with the Minnesota Real Estate Show, Mini Movers and Metcalf. Both are great companies. And Scott, getting a good professional mover to help you is an option too.
Yeah, Mini Movers has moved a ton of my clients. They've moved me personally twice. I am friends with the dad of the owner from high school. So a great family, great owner. So they're both great companies, but Mini Movers I've used personally.
Yeah, again, one last note is that Luminate, again, they are a local bank as well. Mike, hit that real quick.
Sure. Yeah. So we're a local bank, checking, savings, investments, that type of stuff. I don't handle that side of it. I'm strictly on the mortgage side.
I handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. Scott's my personal banker there. But we have great interest rates as far as APY in our savings accounts. We're still high 4s. I think we're paying out in our savings account. I think even on our checking accounts, we're still in the low 2% APY that we're paying out. So check us out for that. If you just want the local small town feel, would be a great fit for you.
Yeah, again, we appreciate everybody joining us. Scott, nice job today, bud.
Yeah, you too, everybody. It's a good show. Appreciate everybody listening.
Would that be okay next week if we just talk a little more about the election?
I would like to. I will talk to anyone that would like to talk about the election.
Steve, you'd love to.
You
want the whole
can
show.
DM me.
And religion.
And religion. Oh, of course.
Yeah,
Nothing's
really,
off
just a
topic.
great way to build a coalition. And just get people to love the show and come together. That's what we're about here at the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Hey, it's been fun. We appreciate you. We especially appreciate Ryan Perpich coming in to deal with us every Saturday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care. Yeah, we should. Just a full show on that.
Nothing except religion, dating, and politics.
Yeah.
That would be a great show.
Sexual
Oh,
orientation.
Yes, exactly. All of it.
yeah. Hey, great job. We appreciate it. Steve, nice job, buddy.
You too.
You got any triathlons or anything coming up?
No, I've been recovering kind of
Okay.
recently.
All right. Nothing hot on the books?
Are we on the air?
Yeah, we are on the air.
Facebook.
Yeah, don't swear.
I did a whole slew of CrossFit competitions last year, and this spring I did the major ones, but then I'm taking a little break and just healing up.
Okay.
See a
Alright.
physical therapist. I get something called dry needling. It's very painful.
Yes, I've heard that is.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
And a weekly massage.
Whoa! Weekly massage.
Lucky. Cal, I want your life.
I know. I want your life,
I've
dude.
had a massage in the year.
I know. Hey, thanks for joining, everybody. Hope you got some good information, had a little fun, a laugh or two. We'll be back next Saturday